actually sometimes we get in our own way. And so the fourth hack would actually be our mindset, because sometimes we do have the money. And so sometimes we don't need the hack that's going to save us $20 over here. We need the mindset shift to know I have those $20. I even have that extra $200 to spend if I recognize that this is something that can heal, can transform, can just be beneficial, can just bring me joy, where I'm paying this on this maybe monthly subscription that I don't even know about, that I'm not paying attention to, that I don't need, that's not adding to my life. If I got rid of that thing, or if I just got rid of that thing for a certain period of time, that I can grow this money here and reallocate it to something that's better for me, for something I've never done. I think that's actually really powerful, really helpful, and it's like the true hack on how you can shift a lot of things in your life.
Welcome back to the Triggered AF podcast with raw honesty and unfiltered conversations. This is the number one place to explore the triggers that shape our lives. Get ready to laugh, cry, and discover something new about yourself. You can keep spiraling or deal with your triggers, your choice. If you're with us today, it just might mean you're ready to deal with yours. So let's tap on in. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Danny, how are you?
I am feeling pretty good today. Like today I woke up feeling good. I woke up feeling, ready to chit chat and have some good combos.
Yes, we are always having the very different conversations. You will not tap into our podcast and hear what everybody else is talking about because usually, if everybody else is doing it, we are not. The rebel in the both of us won't allow us to do so. But I am super excited to have our guest today talking about one of the topics that I enjoy and love the most. If you know me, you know that I use airplanes like people use cars. So travel for me is my thing. And so today we have Ashley in company, who is a world travel expert and the founder of Jelani Travel. So how are you, Ashley?
Hey, ladies, I'm doing great. I'm just so glad to be back in the US after 30 days of traveling across Asia. So it's I'm glad to be home. I love traveling, but I also love to be grounded and be home too.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's just like we're here to talk about just how transformative travel can be, and using travel to transform your perspective, your life, using it as a healing tool and mechanism. So it's perfect that you're just kind of off a high of travel. So this is like the timing is so good, just to kind of hear about your explorations and your journey when it comes to travel. But before we do that, one of our we need to call it like a question. It's like an initiation question for the
Yes.
Triggered AF family. We ask all of our guests. This is the only question that we ask all of our guests. Outside of all the accolades and the titles and the things that you have accomplished, who do you say that you are at your core?
At my core, I'm a free Black girl,
Oh,
like
Ooh.
through and through.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely. And it really gets personified as I navigate other cultures and countries. I really truly see I'm a free Black girl. I'm not a minority. Globally, we are the majority. And I'm able to see that in Asia, in South America, of course, Africa and the Caribbean, but also in the oceanic islands, even, Australia with the Aborigines. Everywhere I go, I see I'm reflected and I'm not less than, and I can walk taller. So I truly am a free Black girl.
I just got chills when you said that. Oh my God.
Me too. What? Listen,
What else is there to aspire to besides freedom? Right?
That's
Like
it.
true
That's it.
freedom. Like that is like what that is the bar.
yeah,
That
that
is
is literally the bar.
yeah. Wow.
Whew,
Okay. That
we
just set the
already starting off
tone.
on a high. But then figuring out that you are, or discovering your free Black girlness with the travel and things is beautiful, right? But for people who are starting out, I'm pretty sure they're trying to figure out, and if not people, then me, I am people. Like, what inspired you to even begin your travel journey? Because, especially the American dream is that you go to school, get a degree, get a job, stay in the job, do a little side something every once in a while because, paying rent on just a job now is something that is quite difficult to do for so many, so many folks. So what inspired you to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go travel. I'll see y'all later.
That's actually a great question and a really important one because to think that somebody can just go from 0 to literally 100. I've been to over 100 countries. It's not realistic. It's something that's so second nature for me now, but when I think back on how I got started, I really give all credit and praise to my family, the matriarch in my family. My grandparents were in the Air Force, and so at 7 years old, I was going to visit them in Turkey. They were stationed in
Ooh,
Turkey. And
okay.
also the story of travel truly started early and it truly saved my life because um, my grandmother had my mom at 15. And so she used the military in order to get out of the cycle of poverty and just with the teenage pregnancy and being a single mother and figuring it out. The military helped stabilize her, but it also was a career that caused you to move every 3 years and be in international destinations for work. And so as a result, I came around, she was still in the workforce. And then my mom had me at 19 and it was the same situation. She joined the army, and that helped stabilize her and give her a career that also caused her to move. So I can even recall at 12 being she was stationed in Korea, and I lived in Korea for 8 months as a sixth grader. And so that's really where the travel
Wow.
bug started. And they didn't do it on purpose, but they found a
Yeah.
way to make a better life literally for the generation that would come after them. And so I'm living proof. I was the first one in my family to go to college. And so I already had those travel experiences through the military because of them. But then once
Yeah.
I went to college, I was literally at the best university.
Okay,
So
the
very
best. Which one
universal
was
at
it?
the Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. And I was able to see more cultures and people from different places and different walks of life. And I just
Mhm.
knew that one day, once I got, graduated and maybe got a job, I would be excited to travel as an adult. And so it just really just continued. And I think I traveled for the first time by accident at 25 after I was working for Pepsi. I was in a college to corporate hire program and I went to Dominican Republic, supposed to be for my 25th milestone, beautiful birthday. My best friends were supposed to come and they literally had legit reasons, so we're not mad at them. I was not triggered AF at them. Like they had some really life things happening where they couldn't make it at the last minute and I
Yeah.
decided even though I'm scared to go somewhere alone, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go because I'd rather be there and just sit on the resort than, not do anything. And so
Yeah.
I would say the two biggest, I think, things that really catapulted my travel was being a young person and having family members with jobs who caused them to move and
Hmm.
then being an adult and kind of getting, kind of accidentally having to solo travel, that
Yeah.
inspired me creating my travel company. It inspired me really wanting to figure out a way to make it easier and more accessible for people to travel if they never grew up with parents who had jobs that allowed them to move, or
Yeah.
if they never got kind of forced into a situation where they had to find the courage to travel by themselves. I wanted
Yeah.
to create something where you didn't have to have that background in order to have this type of experience.
Ooh, this is so good, especially because you tapped on a couple of different things. The main one being not allowing the circumstances of your life to determine how far you can go. And you had that example 2 generations plus. It's like, okay, yes, we may have made a choice that traditionally would not position us for the best of life. And we're just going to keep it a buck because that's just kind of what we do. Having a child early does make it more challenging for you, primarily because you don't have the resources. So instead of just using it as an excuse, your folks was like, yeah, nah, we gonna keep this baby and we also gonna still create a really beautiful life for her. I adore that. Like, oh, I adore that.
Yeah, and especially for people, like you said, creating that space for people who didn't have, you know, adults and examples of that. Even I think, especially within the Black culture, oftentimes people can feel like individuals who travel regularly are like elitist, or they have to be
Mhm.
wealthy, or they're
Yeah.
bougie, or they think they're better than people. And I remember I saw it somewhere. I don't know, like, don't like quote me that this is 100% accurate, but I saw a statistic one time that said like 40% of Americans have never left the United States.
Yeah. Or have
or
passports
have it's
an
that's it.
alarming number.
Yeah, yeah, it's like around the same like number, like 40 to 50% of them don't even have passports. So I know y'all on Instagram looks like everybody is everywhere. But please understand that you can literally Photoshop backgrounds and Photoshop airplanes into your pictures. So I know it could easily feel like you're being left out, or you get FOMO, or you feel like you're not good enough to do that. But I think, I've heard, especially being myself, being one of the people who started traveling internationally at a younger age, like, as an adult, but at a younger age, outside of, other people in my family who had maybe never been to Europe and things like that. And there's some comments sometimes where people say things, or they imply that you think that you're better than. So how can people move through some of those blockages or some of that resistance around traveling for fear of what others may think or what they may say about them, or how they may be perceived, when really they're just trying to live their best life? Okay. Dating isn't trash, but how you date absolutely can be. For so many of us, we're dating people who we don't really like and who don't like us. We focus so much on being chosen that we don't take the time to actually honor our own wants, needs, and desires. We created the What Type of Data Are You quiz that not only shows you what type of data you are, but also shows you where to find your type. Are you a cautious clam? Are you a spontaneous stimulator? Or are you a luxury loving hot ticket? Take the quiz to find out now and gain invaluable insights into your dating preferences at datingwellaf.com.
That's a powerful. Y'all are good. This is a powerful question because this is something that I'm still navigating, because I
Oh,
am a world travel expert, because I have been to over 100 countries, because I just got back from a 30-day tour with 9 countries across Asia, and the Arabian Gulf. I still sometimes play myself small a little bit and not wanting to share
Mm.
everything. And I had to push myself forward and call myself forward. And I'm building up my personal Instagram page, and I've posted everything. And I just pushed the
Yeah.
button and I showed the nice hotels and I showed everything, because I know I get those comments from certain extended family members or people that I went to high school with, and I don't like it. So sometimes I don't always want to share in the past, but this particular trip, I took no names. I made no apologies. If you go to Ashley and Company underscore on Instagram, you will see all of the full fabulousness of that trip that I took for myself.
Yes.
That was one of the best things I've ever done, in the way that I traveled. And so I would just say you have to push through and remember it's about you. And I even made a post where I talked about, to my future child that I hope to have one day, I'm capturing these moments for you. I hope you think mommy is so cool. How dare I
mhm.
not share, and how dare I not
Yeah.
get people excited? Some people will take it and say the negative things, but some people are truly being inspired and saying, you know what? If she could do 9, surely I could do 1.
Right.
And she's saying that she can help me do it. So, okay, let me figure it out. Or maybe they're just inspired enough to say, I have somebody else I know. Let me go finally ask them to help, or tell them. I know I've been telling them in the group chat I'm coming. Okay, I'm gonna really come. So somebody's getting motivated, and that's what I have to
Yeah.
remember. And that's what I think you have to remember. Anybody listening who are saying, I don't want to be judged, or I don't want to feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing too much. This is your life. You have to live it. And if the intention behind you sharing it is to forward somebody else, is to big up yourself, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine, and you don't
Yeah.
have to make any apologies about it.
Ooh, I love that. So I am a firm believer in being unapologetic about who you are, even if it tugs something in you to where you're just like, oh, this doesn't feel so good. There is something that Danny and I have been intentionally working through is honoring what works for you. Figure out what that is and honor what works for you. You do not have to have a whole lot of money to travel. You really don't. People think you do, and it's like, oh, you must be rich. Even if I was, yes, thank you, because I've worked for it. However, you don't have to be this wealthy person to travel. So I would love, especially because you are the world travel expert. If you could just give us just a couple of like tips, especially with what you were just talking about, as to how folks can find travel deals, whether it's traveling an hour and a half away, finding what's available in your city, or traveling to a whole nother side of the world. Like, if just a couple, because we don't
There's
want to
so
spill
many.
the
Yeah.
Ooh, give
Okay.
it to us.
So I actually wrote an ebook called Black Girl Travel Hacks, and it really is applying to everybody, but I'm here for us by us. And so it's called Black Girl Travel Hacks. I really want you to pay attention. And it talks about three different types of ways to hack in travel. And it's one to reclaim your time. So saving time
Mhm.
is always a bonus. It's not always just about money, but saving money as well, but then also being safe, especially if you're trying to travel solo, but even if you're not, just being safe. So those are three ways that I put in my book, that I wrote in 2020. As I've elevated and I started to evolve, and even what I'm sharing now about sharing more, I think there's a fourth way. And I might need to update the book. And I haven't shared this with many people, but the fourth way, the fourth hack is actually sometimes we get in our own way. And so the fourth hack would actually be our mindset, because sometimes we do have the money. And so sometimes we don't need the hack that's going to save us $20 over here. We need the mindset shift to know I have those $20. I even have that extra $200 to spend if
Yeah.
I recognize that this is something that can heal, can transform, can just be beneficial, can just bring me joy, where I'm paying this on this maybe monthly subscription that I don't even know about, that I'm not paying attention to, that I don't
Mhm.
need, that's not adding to my life. If I got
Yep.
rid of that thing, or if I just got rid of that thing for a certain period of time, that I can grow this money here and reallocate it to something that's better for me, for something I've never done. I think that's actually really powerful, really helpful, and it's like the true hack on how you can shift a lot of things in your life. But for some simple, just real quick ones, I mean, there are websites to get you cheap flights. Like there's literally one called cheapflights.com, but Skyscanner, and Hopper,
Mhm.
they use algorithms to let you know when they predict prices will be the cheapest and when they predict you should
Mhm.
purchase. And so that's always good because flights are typically one of the most expensive parts of travel.
Yeah.
And so there's that, but then there's also air affordable and different new technologies coming out where it's basically like a layaway program for a flight. So you can make
Oh.
payments on it. Or if you go to some certain airlines, they'll already have it embedded in their booking where you can, break it down into different payments and kind of put a deposit, if you will, on that flight, but keep that flight rate so that by the time you finish paying, let's say a couple weeks or a month before this time for the trip, had you just tried
Mhm.
to wait until that time to buy the flight, it could have doubled easily. So that
Yeah.
those are some good hacks around saving money when it comes to one of the most expensive parts of travel, with your flights.
Okay. Okay. And what about for hotels? How can we save on the where we're
Point.
sleeping? Yeah.
Points,
Okay.
points, points, and especially this goes for flights too. Um, one of the things I didn't do, so it's always great to learn from lessons, right? I'm telling you what's tried and true because I didn't do it and I wish I would have. I was never
Mhm.
loyal in the beginning, and I've been a lot of places and I've been traveling for a long time. And had I been
Yeah.
loyal, I could have been, really benefiting. But my story, even if you look at the background from my childhood and sometimes why I have been hesitant to share some of the elevated ways that I travel today. To your point, Alicia, like I work hard now and I
Yeah.
deserve it, but I didn't
Yep.
let that stop me that I didn't have this much money at this particular time. And so I gotta wait until then to travel. I've been traveling
Mhm.
the whole time wherever my pay bracket was. And so there was a time where I was couch surfing, I was uh, in hostels, and it was a great experience at the time and where I was and what I wanted to do. And so as a result, and they call it packing on a shoestring budget is what they usually literally used to call it. And as a backpacker, you just have a backpack, not even a suitcase, and you're just trying to find all the budget things. You're trying to see
Mhm.
the most. You're at that point in your life, you're like, I don't care about the hotel because I'm just going there to sleep. I'm literally not that person anymore. But I've we grow and we change our minds. I could even see
Yeah.
people who do the opposite and maybe travel in what you might call the bougie way at first, and now they want to do something different because it's more of an
Yeah.
adventure for them. So there's no right or wrong place or time to travel in a different way. But because I was traveling on a shoestring budget back in the day,
Mhm.
that also transferred over into flights and hotels.
Yeah.
I wasn't even staying in the type of hotels that had reward and point programs. And for flights, I was always booking the cheapest flight. The downside
Mhm.
of doing that is that you don't create the loyalty membership and build up your points with a particular airline, and so you don't get any of those benefits. So
Mhm.
the short term benefit is that you're getting the cheapest flight that's offered using those different websites I told you about. But the
Mhm.
long benefit of choosing an airline and sticking with them everywhere that you go is that you get a lot of discounts and privileges that can be costly to pay straight out with airlines. So those are, and so the same thing when I say about points with hotels, it's the same way. If you're using different chains like Marriott or IHG or different, Hilton, all of the main ones who have different hotels all across the world, if you stick with them
Mhm.
wherever you go, you can get bonus points. And then the really cool thing about the point system, whether it's just with the company, like a hotel brand or an airline, is there's also
Mhm.
credit card points. And so because
Yep.
I was late in the game, I focus a lot on my credit card points. And I always tell people, again, that mindset piece, if you shift on the
Yes.
mindset piece and you're able to control your spending. Some people say I can't have that money just be there, I can't have that credit card and not spend it. I say have the credit card, but use it for your bills and your groceries and your gas and everything that you have to use anyway, and that's it. Because
Yep.
when you just pay that off, because you would have had to pay your gas bill or whatever it is
Yep.
that
You
month
would have had to do
anyway.
it anyway.
You just pull it
Yep.
from your checking and pay your credit card bill. Some people say, well, I'm just not going to be able to get good at that. And that's why I think the mindset part is so important,
So
because you need to
important.
get good at it,
Crucial.
because they're giving you free money. If you just,
Mhm.
whatever you were going to be using on your debit card, just use it on your credit card and
Use
use
on
that
your
money
credit
in your
card.
debit card in your checking to pay that credit card right away. You will get
Yep.
points for each one of those spins. And by the end of the
Mhm.
year, you can easily have thousands of dollars worth of free
Points.
money that they will literally put right back to your credit card or send
Literally.
you a check for. Or what I like to do even better is they will double, or they
Yeah.
will, yeah, double the amount of money they were going to give you if you use it toward travel. And
Towards
so
travel. We get it. You're tired of swiping right and left, searching for something real in the world of online dating. Look no further. We've got you covered with two essential ebooks that will transform your dating life. The 25 conversation starters to cut through the BS when dating, and 25 places to meet quality men in real life ebooks help frustrated women who are tired of dating learn how to date with intention and in alignment with their desired type of lifestyle and goals. We teach you where to find them and then how to actually connect once you do. Each ebook is filled with tried and true methods, whether you're a pro dater or you're just getting back on the market. Time to say goodbye to endless swiping and hello to meeting genuine quality men in real life. Start today and begin your journey toward more authentic connections now at datingwellaf.com.
some of the
Absolutely.
better credit cards for that would be Chase and American Express. There are others, but those are the best ones.
Those definitely. I actually used to work for American Express, so like I probably sing this to everyone I know. Working there opened up my eyes so much to just how the wealthy, because I worked in the platinum department, which is like their
Mhm.
one
Oh
of
yeah.
their more elite cards,
Yep.
and just to see how people in a certain tax bracket leverage their debt and leverage the use of their cards was like,
Yeah.
because in our minds, and especially in the Black community, credit cards are like the devil.
Mhm.
Like
Bad.
we are
Yeah.
taught that they are only there to put you in debt. They're a
Yep.
trick from the white man. Your mama opened up credit cards in your name and now your credit is bad. Like there's a lot of trauma
Yes.
around credit cards in our community. And a lot of times, like I remember when I first started working there and I would see like somebody would have $100,000 that they were paying in a month on a credit card. And I was just like, oh my God, like, why are they in so much debt? Da, da, da. And then I realized that they were revolt, like they were paying that every month. Like there are people here in the world that can afford to pay 100, 200, $300,000, and
Wow.
they would just put every single thing on their card.
Everything.
Grocery, gas. I mean, for some American Express, because you can pay your mortgage. Like, I mean, there were just a
Yep.
lot of loopholes and just stuff that you don't know what you don't know. So I'm so
Mhm.
Mhm.
happy you brought that up because I definitely think because of the history of what credit cards have done to our community, because of the lack of understanding, the lack of education around how to use those cards to your benefit. Because when
Mhm.
you're using your debit cards, when you're using cash, you're literally just like letting your dollar go so far, as opposed to
Mhm.
like letting your dollar make you $2, make
Yeah.
you, you know, and those points do add up. And I mean, I've spoken to people that had millions of points, which
Yep.
translated to $10,000 just for spending their card. And now they were able to fly first class everywhere they go. And they were, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yes.
just so much out there. But I think that this piece is so important to just like go a little deeper on, because people really don't know that that exists. Like they don't even
I
know that that's an option.
Yeah, I would like to go a lot deeper. Actually, like I just said, I just got finished with a big tour. One of my friends came out and met me out there, and
Oh,
she's been to 40, 50 countries. So she's well versed. She's doing well at work. Like she's got her head on straight and she was still missing it. So you might think this is somebody who's new or hasn't really gotten that good job, or no, it's people who we're always learning. There's always something new to share. And so I think it's really important, because I was even shocked she didn't realize um the perks that they will give you when you already have money versus if you didn't, just from the simple fact around banking, that it might cost you $25 a month if you don't have money in there like that. So if you're already
Right.
struggling, you got to pay a fee. But if
Yeah.
you have enough money where you always have $1,000 or $5,000 in your bank account, it's free for you. You don't actually need it to be free. You probably
Right.
can afford a $25 charge.
Which
So
is
it's so
wild.
backwards, and
It's
so
so,
it's so
or no, how about when they charge you a fee for the overdraft that you can afford in the first
in the
place?
first place. But I kind of like that might be like a okay, that's why we're trying to tell you don't do that. But to charge me for it to hold this bank account that you're giving this person for free, but it gets worse
Wow.
the higher you go up. So even when it comes to the perks that you get with these
mhm.
loyalty programs and things like that, that you they'll slash so many things and give you so
Oh my
many
God.
discounts just
So
because you
much.
show loyalty, which makes sense. It's like you're showing loyalty to me, but it's like you don't understand the people who are doing well or feel so rich, they're actually spending way less than you
Way
sometimes because
less.
they are really utilizing those benefits. And so the
Yeah.
situation with her, it's not travel or points related, but it would have gotten her so much money that we were on a trip, and sometimes we're thinking, even saw a meme, it was really funny. It was like, oh, I'm getting mad at myself that I just paid $8 for this coffee at Starbucks, but I just spent a down payment on a house on a trip. So, how you spend your money different times. Like I'm mad about this $8, but I just dropped $1,000 for this flight. That's a good point. And so we've all had those experiences.
Yeah.
And so she was having a moment where she was like, you want me to go to this Michelin star restaurant and they just gonna give me one tomato and I'm gonna pay $200. She was having a moment before we went and we had our meal, but she had that moment. I find out that she keeps a certain amount of money in her checking account because she feels good. She worked hard. She didn't always have money. Now that she
Yeah.
has it, she has to see a certain amount never leave her checking. And I totally
Mhm.
get it. But if she would just keep that same amount in a same looking account, you could see it every day. You could pull it out if you needed to right away. But a certain savings account that gives you 4%, 4 or 5%. And I told her about that. The amount that she was talking about, it was a lot of money that she would have by the end of the year, changing nothing but the type of account that it was in. Nothing about her spending, nothing about how she views her money, how she might want to take out her money would have to change. Just literally calling it something else would have given her thousands of dollars and she wouldn't have been worried about a $200 dinner because you know what I mean? So it's just like the interest that you can get on savings accounts that we don't know about.
That we don't
So
know
I
about.
know one of the accounts is Wealthfront is a good one. I think All Ally, but they're out there. There are checking and savings accounts that offer you interest that are way
Yeah.
higher than the mainstream bank accounts that are offering 1% or nothing or 0 point something. There are ones out there offering 4 to 5%, and you already have money in that bank anyway. It could be collecting you interest even if it's just a few $100s by the end of the year.
Mhm.
But easily there's a lot of people that I know I'm talking to right now. If you go do the math, you would see that you would have thousands of dollars by the end of the year. And what could you
Wow.
do with that money? You could get a passport, you could travel, you could
We can
reinvest
do.
it, you could do whatever you want, whether it's travel or not.
Yep.
But the idea that we just get so stuck in our mind, like, nah,
This is
this is
how it
what I'm
is.
used to, this is
Yep.
my checking
Mhm.
account. savings account, there's different types of savings account like CDs where you can't take the money out, but this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about
Mm-mm.
a regular savings account where you could take that money out the next day if you want to. So
Yeah.
there's no real difference.
Yeah.
And I was just like, girl, are you going to change it over? And I honestly don't even know that she is, because sometimes we get stuck in habits.
Yeah,
Yep.
and what we know. And before we move on from this, the last thing I want to say around that switching of the mindset is don't let your pride and your ego and feeling like you're gonna look like you don't have it stop you. Because let me tell y'all,
Mhm.
just like from so much experience, I worked in sales for over a decade. Like
Mhm.
there are very wealthy people who are penny pinching and calling and asking for $2 to be fixed. Like Black people, I know that this is a thing for us. We come on in here. We gotta stop this mentality of we want to look the part, so we're gonna pay this extra because it's so backwards. Like we don't want to pay extra for this, but we'll pay extra so we don't look a certain way or so it doesn't come off that we don't have it,
Yeah.
whether or not we do. I promise you, I have spoken to somebody who had $350,000 that they were calling to pay all at once, calling in about a $30 late fee and arguing me down. They were late. And mind you, they were late. But arguing me down for $30 when they can afford $350,000 in a month. Do not
Mhm.
let your pride and your ego cost you in any way.
That's good.
Learn that it's okay to say, hey, no, I'm supposed to get a discount on that. There's nothing wrong with asking
That
for that.
part.
Especially I feel like I see that more in like the Black people who are doing a little bit better and doing well for themselves. They don't want to seem like they don't have it because they do have it and it needs to be clear that we have it. And I get that. But do not be afraid to ask for that discount, ask for that percentage off, ask how your
Mhm.
points can be applied. Like find out and ask. Don't let your pride make you
Yeah.
silent so that you can look the part when you need to be saving in every single way, just like the people that you're aspiring to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a real
Absolutely.
thing, and I see it all the time. Like find out how you can save your coins when you can.
VAT, if you
That
buying
part.
those Louis bags and Gucci bags when you're overseas and you're traveling, get your VAT at the airport. Those taxes, get it
Yep.
back.
Yep.
Get
Run
it?
it back and you can put it toward another purchase. But get your funds.
Listen, I am so loving this conversation. Like I said, because I have a travel, I got a travel bug too. So what would you say are like the 5 places that we just absolutely must visit? Like before we go ahead and hightail it out of here, what are the 5 places that we absolutely have to visit? And I know you've been to over 100, so I'm pretty sure 5 is gonna be real hard. But what are
It
they for you?
is. And I'm such a geography and just travel and culture geek. I get so excited. I was literally on this trip. We were like going from a country I had barely even heard of, Laos, to like Cambodia. And I was on the plane literally trying to figure out what my top 5 were. I'm always doing stuff like that because I love it. So I actually have it pretty much top of my top 5 favorite countries is a little different from maybe what I would say. Here's the 5 you have to go to, I think. But I would say my favorite are for sure both lists is East Africa. I know that's a region, but I would say Tanzania, or that's how they say it, but Tanzania, that would be the one. Kenya was the first African country I went to, and it changed my life, and it's why I
Yeah.
started my company 10 years ago. And but I didn't know about Tanzania right next door at the time. So for a long time,
Mhm.
Kenya was my favorite country. Out of all the 100+ countries I've been to, Tanzania is my favorite because it has an island called Zanzibar, and it sits in the
Mhm.
middle of the Indian Ocean. And so a lot of times people don't romanticize Africa in the way that they should, and they're missing out.
Yeah.
Everybody will probably recognize the Maldives and that water. So I always like to liken it to Maldives because they know the
Mhm.
picturesque. It's Google Images is coming up as it
Yeah.
should for the Maldives. That's the same exact water, but with all the culture, all the
Yes.
vibes, all the
Yeah.
history, the Swahili food, the Swahili cuisine. You get so much more and so much
Mhm.
to offer in Zanzibar. So that's like my favorite. And then you can go to mainland and experience a safari that is just out of this world to see the animals in their natural habitat so that you're in the cage vehicle as you should be to go view them, not them being in the cage while
That
you go
part.
view them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just a stunning, beautiful experience. staying overnight in the middle of nature in a luxury
Mhm.
lodge. People think like, what I'm gonna do out there? I'm a sleeping bag. No, no, no. It's just like a hotel except for concrete walls. It's an actual tent, but there's floors, bedding, soap tubs, showers, everything is in there. Best food, best scenery. So that experience is why Tanzania is my favorite, because it offers all of that. And then they have nightlife and a major city, um, just some really beautiful nature, waterfalls, Mount Kilimanjaro that I'm planning to hike to the summit at some point. Um,
Oh,
so Tanzania has it all. East Africa, and
yeah.
also the people. The people are the most hospitable I've ever experienced around the world. Africa in general, I feel like Africa and the Caribbean is just so hospitable, but East Africa is a different level between
Mm,
Sudan and Kenya and Tanzania. Like they're just such good people. So that's my top favorite. Everything else after that, in Europe, I love Italy. In
mm,
Asia, I used to say I love Bali, but on my trip that I just came back from, I realized Vietnam is incredible.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I would say there. In South America, I would say you definitely want to go to. So I really love Colombia. I have a special connection because I lived there. But outside of Colombia, Brazil. Brazil is really special.
Mm,
A lot to see, a lot to experience, a lot of history. They have a city that is the second blackest place by population outside of Africa. Another one in Central America, I would say not to miss, Mexico. Is very accessible, but
mm.
it's some special places in Mexico. So
Yeah.
people maybe have like Tulum themselves to death, and
Can't
there's
cool
so much
themselves to death.
more. There's so much more going on in Mexico. And Mexico City is a true gem, especially if you're a foodie.
Mm.
The
Hmm.
restaurant scene is unlike anything I've ever seen. So,
Yeah. And when you
Yeah.
were naming the places, I was laughing a little bit because I'm like, dang, we're going to Tanzania in November, literally using points because we have over like 750,000 points.
yes.
So the whole trip is being covered by points, like flying business class because it's too
Mhm.
far. I've stayed at a hostel before, so I've done travel both ways. I do prefer the luxury travel.
Same.
So
Same. Luxury travel me, please. Okay.
listen, luxury
It's
travel
worth
me
All
it.
now.
day.
It's just worth
Right.
it. It's worth it. It's one of those things that seems overrated. And trust me, there's a lot of luxury things that are overrated. Luxury travel and just spending that little extra for the experience, you never regret it. Like you
Yeah.
just like you it's never a thing like, damn, I maybe shouldn't have stayed at such a nice hotel. Like nobody says that.
Said nobody ever. And I can't wait to compare it to the Maldives because I've gone to the Maldives and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's beautiful, but no
And that's it.
disrespect to y'all, but the food was not hitting. Ooh, I was hungry the whole
You
time.
are going to love Zanzibar. You said Zanzibar, right?
Yes. We're going
It's
well,
gonna
Tanzania
be,
and Zanzibar. We're
yeah,
wait, I might be
y'all are gonna
butchering it. Yeah, we're gonna go to Dar el Salam because that's where a girlfriend of mine stays, and then we're
mhm.
gonna be in actual Zanzibar as well.
It's gonna be incredible. And we're gonna be Jelani Travel to be there in November too. So we might see.
Okay, we gotta connect. We gotta
I,
connect. I'm gonna get you the
I'm
date.
actually not going. I don't usually go on the trips, but we have ambassadors that do. But we Jelani Travel will be in the building, so
Okay,
we
okay, so we
definitely
still gonna
connect because we
connect.
have like events and stuff. Y'all might can pull up and everything.
Show can. Listen, I
Yeah.
love to pull up.
Yeah, so we want to know because we're talking about, some of those like so the savings and the tips and some of the more surface parts of traveling and just how accessible it is now for so many of us, which is amazing. And there's so much that we have missed out on for generations and so much that our parents and our grandparents didn't get to experience that we now get to experience. And it's so important for us to maximize that and capitalize on that in whatever way that we can, whether it's staycations, whether it's going, like Alicia said, an hour and a half away. But I want to know, what do you feel like are the ways that travel has really transformed you inside and out? Like, what are some of those great lessons? Like, what are some of the things that you were like, I used to be like this. I started traveling and, based on maybe different places, different experiences that you've had, how has it worked to transform you?
I think yeah, y'all don't miss with these questions. It's so good. I think that probably the two most significant ways, uh, I would say three. I think earlier on, like when I was 7 years old and I was in Turkey, and I saw it was my first time seeing like an extreme amount of poverty, and I think it really shaped my who I am and my empathy, and how the service that I've always been a part of, from just volunteering in high school because of those core memories of what I saw and just always wanting to help, to in my sorority, to even my company. There is a service component that we do, where we do a service project in every country, and that all came from the first time I traveled and saw that somebody was less fortunate than me. And that we already had that in the US, but it was a lot easier for me to see, and how drastic it was, because I grew up poor, but I saw a different level, and I think it shifted to something in me. So that was really powerful. And I think one of the bigger things into adulthood was probably how the way that I viewed myself. That was the biggest piece, and that's why I consider myself a free Black girl, was actually making my pilgrimage, my Black birthright, to experience Africa as a Black American. And going to Kenya for the first time was so transformational, because it would be the simple, subtle things in your subconscious where I was healing without even knowing it, just by, you're just driving down the street and all the billboards look like you, and you've never had that experience. And so it does something for you without you even knowing it. When you turn on the TV, the doctor and the Colgate commercial, everybody looks like you, and from the food, everything. And so it just was like, I didn't even know that I needed that. The conversations, the smiles, the people saying welcome home, and what that does for you when you grow up in a place where you're always having to check a box in school to say that I'm other, or that I'm not, that I'm a minority, or um, you know, some of the hatred that we can experience, even if I had experienced it personally, but there's a lot that we experience that's traumatic, that isn't necessarily us. What we see in the media, what we see happening to people with police brutality, that's all affecting us. And when you go to Africa, there's something that just heals you as like a welcome home. So I think that was the most significant one. But I think in the third and final one is something that we kind of touched on earlier today, and I really hope we're driving that message home, is around the mindset and finances. Um, the way that I travel has evolved. The way that my company has given offerings has evolved with me, because I started out as a backpacker. People were seeing me and said, "Hey, I want to go with you." And I'm like, "Okay, this is how I go." And it was elevated. It was really nice. It might have been the number one hostel in the world, but it was still a hostel on our very first trip. A lot of people don't know that. It was beautiful. I mean, rooftop and everything, but it was still 4 beds in one room. And that it was still a hostel culture. I laugh when I think about that now. Like, there's no way it's just
So do
completely different
I.
now.
When I
Huh?
think about the fact that I stayed in a hostel in what was it? In Brussels, actually. There were like 6 women in that room. I didn't know anybody except for my good girlfriend, Ja. We were going to her sister's wedding. And she was like, I know you bougie and you don't like to stay in a hostel. And I was like, no, 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 I'll do it this time. I'll do it this time. And I stayed and I realized, I don't want to do it this time.
No more.
It
But you
just,
tried it, right?
I tried it. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
try
How
it.
old were you though when that happened?
Shoot, this was, I want to say maybe 7, 8 years ago. So I'm 37 now. So maybe like I was maybe 29, 30. I was young. I mean, not super young, but
I can
I'll
see.
try most things.
Yeah.
Not all things, but I will
Yeah.
try most things just to see, like, okay, do I like this? Is this another way for me to travel? And I realized that that's not how I like to get down. Because I want to be able to like walk around naked, and you can't do that
You
if
can't
it's
do it.
other people in the room.
You can't
It's
do
frowned
it. You gotta
upon.
worry about your stuff. You gotta lock it up, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But do
Yeah.
you think that you could have done it if you were like fresh out of school, maybe 21, something like
Oh,
that?
absolutely. By that time, I had a kid. Like, I'm just like, oh no, what if I wake up and somebody got a knife in my throat? It was being
Right.
extra. Like, be
Right.
clear, I was being extra. The women were incredibly kind. The food, even at that particular hostel, was so delicious. And I was shocked because I wasn't the biggest fan of the food in Brussels. No disrespect, y'all. I'm not talking down about y'all country. I'm just saying for me,
Right.
I preferred a little bit more flavor.
Right.
But no, it wasn't that it was a bad experience at all. It's just not my preference. But I
Yeah.
absolutely, I would have hustled it out had I been like 21, 22. And I want people to remember, like, you spend two, three, four, $500 on Fashion Nova, on
Uber
fast
Eats.
fashion, Uber Eats. You spend $500 easy on what Shein. Now, personally, I don't shop at those places because of the environmental impact.
Me
However,
either.
that's
Once
not
I
me
found
being
out.
bougie. Yeah, it's just the environmental impact for me is a bit much. And I prefer quality because I can buy this piece that, okay, may cost like $200, but it lasts for 5 years. So by the time I didn't divide it the 5 years by the $200, I've actually spent less money than you because you have to constantly replace the fast fashion. But I said all that to say, yes, you may spend, it is spending money, but you're spending it anyway. The one thing I know about growing up in poverty is poor people are not without money. And I know because I was a poor person. Be clear, I grew up impoverished. And what I have seen is it is not that you don't have the money, it is how and where you decide to spend the money. So instead of spending that $500 on a Shein shopping cart, go ahead and take that 500. I am the firmest believer in Skyscanner. I just bought my ticket to Nice using Skyscanner, business class, mind you. Buy your tickets, go use Skyscanner. You can literally click explore destinations from wherever your current city is, and you can get a round trip flight to wherever for under $500. You're going to spend the money anyway, invest it into experiences and not just into materials.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying about the like the final thing is like the financial mindset. Once you try something, it's hard to go backwards. Even if
Yeah.
you don't go backwards for long, or you've seen
Mhm.
something different, so you have something to work harder towards or
Yeah.
aspire to, and you get back there quicker.
You'll push for it more. Like,
Yeah,
you're like,
Yeah.
"Nah,
it's
like, I really like to do it like that. Let me see how I can make it happen," as opposed to just deciding that that's not an option for you. And one thing I want to add to that is a lot of times once you have children, you feel like you can't travel. I know that was something I struggled with. And we start to think of like, oh my God, like I don't want to travel with a toddler, I don't want to travel with a baby, I don't want to travel with all these kids. And you start to think about all the ways that it's going to be unpleasant, because trust me, it is a little bit unpleasant. However, to open up, just like you had, Ashley, to open up a child's mind and to show them the
Yep.
world, or even to show them pictures of them seeing the world at a young age, is going to be so impactful for the way they view the world. Like, the first place my daughter ever went on a plane was to Istanbul for a wedding. And
wow.
though she was like 1.5, like 18 months, she may not remember, being there, but to show her pictures of herself, knowing that, just that, knowing that she's had that experience, just knowing that she's had a passport since she was a baby. I didn't get my first I mean, I had a passport to travel from Jamaica to America, but like I didn't like have a passport to travel again until I was like 21, 22,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on my own. So I just want to encourage any parents who feel like they can't, or children are a restriction. There are a lot of resorts that children are free, a lot of all inclusives where children under 17 are not, you don't have to pay for them. There's a lot of like different things for children, lap babies. There's certain airlines that they don't charge you if the baby's sitting on your lap. Like, there are a lot of different ways around bringing your children. Some resorts even have like nanny services or child care
Mm-hmm.
services that you can take advantage of. There are travel nannies that they only, like, that's what they do. Like, they travel with you to your destination for a certain amount. Some of them just also want the experience. Like, there are options, is what I'm saying, for
Absolutely.
parents who feel like their children may be so expensive or so much extra. There are a lot of TikTokers and Instagram moms that show you different travel hacks with children to make it more pleasant, to make it easier. Like, also look into, the family experience if you're not single, and what that might look like, and just how possible that is for you as well. Because it can be restricting, and it can feel like now you're stuck. Maybe you had that travel bug in
Yeah.
your 20s, you settled down, and now you feel stuck because of a family. You're not stuck. You may just
You're
have
not.
to do it a little bit differently.
I think those
Absolutely.
are some great tips. I think, and also you can look for community. Like we have like a mommy and me trip.
Mhm.
And so people they can support each other, but we also, like you said, traveling nannies. We have nannies in place in some of our destinations where you can still bring the kids, but certain things you're going to want to do, you'll know that they're taken care of.
Yep.
So and there's all types of offerings like that. It's possible. Go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead and do it. So, Ashley, where can we stay connected with you? I know you said you already then got started with your personal page showing us all the deets. So, where can we stay connected all over?
You actually from on Instagram, it's Ashley in company underscore. Everything is there. So there's a link in my bio to Jelani Travel, but the Instagram for Jelani Travel is also just Jelani Travel. But everything is at my personal, and I love for the listeners to say, hey, go jelanitravel.com is the website, but everything is right there on the Instagram link.
Okay, excellent, excellent. You can stay connected with me all over at Alicia Reese. Y'all already know my parents got hella excited when they were spelling it. It is spelled Alechia, last name Reese, Reese. And you can stay connected with Triggered at Triggered AFPC. And you can also visit our website for all the deets at triggeredafpodcast.com. Danny, where can we stay connected with you?
You can stay connected with me at the Danny Bordeaux. Bordeaux is Bourdeau all over the internet. And you can also go to triggeredafevents.com to see when we're coming to a city near you to do some of this healing and some of these transformative conversations in person. Because, this is all about us healing together, healing our triggers together, flourishing and becoming free. Okay, Black
Yes.
people,
That's right.
one episode, one conversation at a time. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Ashley, for sharing these gems. I mean, I just know that there are people that are going to be so moved by this episode because we out here now. We out in these travel streets as Black people, and we need all the encouragement and all the tips and tricks that we can get. So I'm excited that somebody's going to now have this in their arsenal to improve their life and their experiences.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us this week on the Triggered AF podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube, and we will see you soon. Bye.